Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Andy Paige. Oh my gosh, when I tell you how excited I was when she agreed to come on my show, I just couldn't believe it. I'm so thrilled to have her. She has an incredible life story. Grew up in a small town in Alabama, has a master's degree in broadcast journalism, and then did a lot of work in, it's funny, it's not so much the reality TV space. Like, it's not like I'm talking about The Bachelor or those competition reality shows. I'm talking more about like TLC reality shows. And she worked at QVC, selling products and stuff like that. And then she gets the dream job of a lifetime, her first acting gig at age 54 on, a little known show called General Hospital. We haven't had much experience in these episodes before on this show talking to someone who has worked on a soap opera. Soap opera acting, I don't know much about it, but you'll learn all about it in this episode. It, to me, feels like the Olympics of acting. This is a fine-tuned machine. General Hospital has been going on for 61 seasons, and now Andy is a part of it, and she tells everything about behind the scenes. Oh my gosh, I'm already getting excited for you to hear her story. She also touches on something super cool that relates to her first career working at QVC, selling things. What General Hospital is doing to kind of MacGyver with the crazy times we're dealing with this in the entertainment industry is a new way of marketing things to you, the viewer, to you, the customer. I'm not going to give it away, but it's fascinating. It made my logical brain tingle. She talks all about it. I'm so thrilled for you to hear her story and was so honored to have her on my show. Please enjoy Andy Paige. I'm so excited.
She's so sweet. That's very sweet of you.
Well, yeah, tell me your story. How did you get into this crazy business?
Okay, so, I grew up in a really small town in Alabama. And, for me, the way to become a superstar in my area and my family was to get involved in sports. I know that sounds crazy, but I actually went to school. I have a double master's in media studies and broadcast journalism to be a sportscaster. So because everyone that was our family connection. It was our family quilting. It was literally like the fibers that bind us. Alabama football. I grew up in a time of Roger Staubach and the Dallas Cowboys. And I remember my grandfather taking me to my very first, New Orleans Saints game. It was kind of the thing that we love to do. It tied the community. So I went to school to be a sportscaster. And, at that time, there were two. There was Andrea Joyce, who was a sportscaster, and there was Willow Bay, who was a sportscaster. And interestingly enough, Willow Bay was married to CBS director of sports. So she got her job pretty easily. And Andrea Joyce had just been, a professional in her field and had grown and was very good at it. So, there was hope. But I always thought that that's what I would do. And when, that kind of fell short, I was offered like a $17,000 gig to cover Friday Night Lights in a small town in Texas. And I was like, I have to graduate. I was then offered the opportunity to get involved with QVC at this big event. It was called RTNDA, the Radio Television News Directors Association Convention. So I was recruited by QVC and I went through their training process, but I never made it to air. And it was really interesting. So, one thing led to another. And at that time, I was in New York City. I was modeling. And my agent's like, I know this sounds crazy, but I saw this ad at a weird time of night. And I think you should apply for this show. It was called Starting Over. And so I applied for this show, Starting Over, because I really didn't know what I was going to do. And I became the beauty and style expert on Starting Over, which led to me having my own show. But this is all reality based, right? This is transformational television. This is reality. There's nothing scripted. And so, several years of television. I had my own show, which was great. But in 2009, I was in a tragic accident and I cut off my right foot.
Huh.
So I was like 6 days away from going to start filming the next episodes of 10 Years Younger, which was a show that I was doing. And everything kind of came to a halt. So 7 surgeries, I got my foot back on. I then started working kind of behind the scenes. And slowly I regained my strength and got back to work. And QVC came calling during COVID and was like, I know that this is crazy, but we do remember you. And now, you've had, 200 episodes of television and, some success. Would you be interested in doing some things from your home? And so I started to work with QVC again. And then a few months ago, some producers that I worked with originally, like literally 20 something years ago, saw that I was working on QVC, and this role on General Hospital became available for a fictitious home shopping host. And so because I had had such a great rapport and relationship with the previous producers from the reality show, now working on a scripted show, they're like, we think this role would be perfect for you. Have you ever, acted? And I was like, well, I took an acting class in college. I can do this. So that's how it happened. And so what I like to tell my kids and what I like to tell, people I talk to about this is, life is really about the seeds that you plant. Because these producers remembered me from, years ago, that I was on time, that I did my best to always make things better and not worse, that I was dependable, that I was kind, that, I was always going to, not be a prima donna. And, so because they remembered me in a positive light, this opportunity, both with QVC, right? Because QVC didn't want me. I didn't burn any bridges. And with now General Hospital, I left that show not on great terms, but, I left the show loving everyone and everyone. So all of this is because of seeds that I planted as I'm coming along. Because, not everything that you think you're right for, it doesn't mean it's the right time. So my life has evolved. My lessons, I continue to grow in lessons, and I'm wiser. And but really, this opportunity is because of all of the other things that I have done.
I think that's such an incredible, I was about to say lesson to learn, but yeah, it is, but also an incredible motivational story, because the vast majority of people who listen to my show are people who are wanting to pursue a career in entertainment later on in life. And I think, and maybe this is just me, but I know no, it's not. I know I've had people say, because there are examples of actors being plucked from obscurity and, in the shopping mall when we used to do that, be like, oh yeah, I was discovered then, and there weren't any seeds planted. The tree was just grown.
Yep.
But I think that's such a rare case. So it's always so wonderful to hear a story of the build and the networking that had to have been involved.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way I would have had this role had not all of the other things happened. So I am now a part of a legacy show that I can't even believe it. I mean, I literally 2 days was on set with Morgan Fairchild. I mean, dare I say co-star? I mean, that is bananas, right? It is bananas. But yeah, we're, going over lines. I can hardly even look her in the eye without shuddering, right? Because this is truly, don't get me wrong, I have done lots of television. I have been a broadcaster. I have sold millions of dollars worth of products on QVC, but I have never had to say someone else's words.
Oh my God.
And that is a very big difference. That is a very big difference. Being myself in front of a camera is something I'm completely comfortable with. But we are talking about Emmy award-winning writers who expect you to say their words and project in a way that, they're asking for. And so it is a whole other game, trust me. I mean, for example, I had to redo a scene 3 times because I kept forgetting the word new. So I kept saying, deception color. And they're like, it's new deception color. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so very sorry. And so then every actor has to reset and the whole scene has to be done again because I forgot the word new. So it is a very different thing. However, because I had all of these experiences and I have planted all these seeds, I am learning. And there were lots of lessons even this week, because every time I do the show, I am in a different scenario where, the first time I did the show, they turned to me and I was alone on camera. So I was just like, oh, thank you, Haven. And then I shot my scene to camera alone. So the last 2 scenes I just did, I was in a scene with just Haven, and then I was a scene with 2 other people. And every time, you have a scene with more and more people, there is a lot more to learn and to play off of. And I know that might sound simple to someone who's taken a few, acting classes or what's the big deal. Trust me, it is a big deal when, you have to say the line at the exact time, turn to this camera, turn to that camera, read off that person, read off that person. So I am learning, I'm enjoying it. I hope that this is not my last acting gig. I have absolutely, just been astonished, honestly, at how difficult it is, but how really challenging and fun it is.
Tell me more about the learning process, because this sounds like a literal trial by fire.
Yeah.
I don't know much about soap operas, but what I've learned is it's like like the Olympics of acting. It's fast, turnaround, word perfect. They're churning it out quickly. What has that been like? How do you learn?
Well, let me just tell you that when I had my first interview, they basically told me that they shot anywhere from 50 scenes a day, 40 to 50 scenes a day. And the first day that I was there, I was in scene 49 and 50.
Oh my God.
They do it in 2 blocks. So there's a 5 to noon block, and then there is a 1 to 8 block, 5 a.m. to noon, and then 1. So they film 250 hours of television a year. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. And I know. And I was also told quite bluntly that you get 1 filmed rehearsal and 1 filmed take. So the fact that I needed 3 takes to get the word new, it was not a pleasant experience. But
oh my gosh.
My point is yes, it is absolute baptism by fire. And the other thing that is interesting for people to note is that there are notes everywhere. There are notes under pillows. There are scripts behind things. There are notes on the walls. There are literally lines everywhere because there's so much dialogue for people to remember. And it is a lot. And, my call was at 5 a.m. on Wednesday. So, you get there at 5 a.m., you're exhausted, and you are literally shooting by 7:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
It's a lot. There is no doubt about it. It is a lot. My first time on set with Morgan Fairchild, she had been there since 5 a.m. and our scenes were not shot until 6:30 at night. Yeah, she had been there all day. 78, looking great, memorizing the lines. I mean, she's amazing. But, that could be said for all of them. This is definitely its other level. And I do get that now. Just the little bit of television that I have done, I do get that this is other level. It's a huge challenge, and those people work extremely hard, and they get a lot accomplished. But this is 61 years. 61 seasons of this amazing show, this legacy show that people still care so much about. I mean, this past weekend, I was at the National General Hospital fan event in Memphis, and these people I didn't meet one person who had not been watching the show at least 20 years. And many of them have been watching the show for 40 to 50, even 60 years. I had one person tell me that she started watching it when it was in black and white in 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
But it is true. Soap acting is other level. It is other level. I mean, it is so fast, and you have got to have it down.
Tell me about, because it's not like you can be on set and say, hey, can you teach me how to do this? Did you bring in anything, I know, besides the fact that your role is what you do in your quote unquote day job, but what else have you brought in from your education in broadcasting? What else did you bring into now this dream role?
Well, it's very interesting because one of the first lessons that I learned in reality television was that, I studied to be a broadcaster, and I am from, like I said, a small town in Alabama. So it was every professor's job to beat the Southern out of me and to beat, any kind of semblance of being a hillbilly kind of out of me. And the first time I got very excited in reality television, and I went off with, kind of one of my, oh my God, holy hootie, like I kind of hopped into, that excitement of being that Alabama girl. I got pulled aside and I thought, oh gosh. And the producers were actually like, we need more of that. Like, give us more of that, like who you are. So believe it or not, I am so grateful that, I had my broadcasting education, but it was really bringing a little more of myself to this particular role and to this particular job that I think it sets me apart. So, because again, in the soaps, because it's so fast, no one is really kind of pulling you aside and being like, okay, so your motivation is this. We're looking for that. I mean, they gave me some guidelines, but they were basically like, tell us who you are and what of your personality can you bring to this with ease? And believe it or not, that actually helped me. And I do think that maybe not, I feel quite confident that that's not the case in a lot of movie roles and other things. They definitely want you to take on, another persona. But I do believe that there are some cases that when you are very clear about who you are and you're very comfortable in your skin, it actually is a benefit to doing a role, especially something like this. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I'd love, because again, a lot of the people who listen to this are people who are coming in later in life. And to be honest, feeling a bit more comfortable in their own skin. Yeah. How did you develop that?
Well, I'm a mother. I have, I've been married. I've had a life. And so I'm very comfortable with my confidence. I'm very comfortable now with who I am and the success that I've had. So for your listeners who are at that point in life, what you're actually bringing is of great value because you definitely understand who you are. And you've also come across enough characters in your life that it might be easy for you to take those on. We've just had the experience that, it's not hard for me to, act angry. It's not hard for me to be pissy. It's not hard for me to be bitchy because I've been there, for over 50 years. So I do think that, taking on something later in life, there is a breadth of experience that you're bringing to it that actually adds to it. So I do think that if you are older, it might be a little easier just because we've got a deeper well to pull from.
Yeah. In your career, in both kind of realms where you've been, the reality television, fictionalized, has there been anything that's been surprising to you?
Yes, most definitely. So some of my big most of them. Some of my big surprises are the people who are the nicest and the people who are the not so nice. So yeah, that's been very shocking to me. But I will tell you that it is always a pleasure when to find, the super kind people who are generous of spirit. But I will say that has been the most shocking. I mean, this business is known for, prima donnas, right? It's known. So it became very clear to me that even at an early age that it is much easier to be nice. And no matter the circumstance, there is nothing to complain about. Nothing. Like this is a dream come true. 5 a.m. call, no problem. I'll be there with hair and makeup ready, my wardrobe steamed myself. I'm happy to do that. I am so very grateful for this opportunity. So my surprise has actually been in the people who do not see how very lucky we are and how very fortunate this opportunity is. And we have all worked so hard to get to this point, and there is nothing to complain about. That's how I feel about it. So I suppose that I know that's a long way around, but yeah, my biggest surprise are the people who are don't recognize how fortunate, let's put it that way, that we all are.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I wonder about, I know this industry is extremely fickle. It's
Yeah.
extremely malleable. It changes all the time. I know it's been frustrating with the strikes and with COVID, et cetera, et cetera. How do you stay motivated and I guess like non-complainy? How
Yeah.
do you stay interested in such a fickle industry? But how do you stay creative?
That's actually very interesting. So, as far as the fickleness, I kind of want to break this question up a little bit. So, I am fortunate that, God made me tall. Trust me, if I had not been, 5'11" by the time I was 10 years old, we would probably not be having this conversation.
Huh.
But I am very fortunate that God made me tall, and that led to a modeling career. And in my modeling career, at a very young age, I had an agent who basically made a chart for my young mind. And she said the average model gets around 10% of what they go after. And so here is a chart for you. And I want you to think that you've got to hear 9 no's for every 1 yes. So every time you hear a no, I would just want you to check that off and know that you are getting closer to your yes. And so she reversed the mental anguish of the no for me, as a young, insecure person. She reversed that as that, okay, thank you for that no, I'm 1 step closer. Thank you for that no, I'm just a little closer. So that mental shift for me has always, it happened to me, when I was 17 years old. So that mental shift has stuck with me my entire life. So I stay motivated and excited because I know that I'm not going to book everything, and that 10% of the work that I go after is a lot, and 10% of the work means that I have a career. So I continue to stay motivated because I understand the averages, and the no's are not upsetting to me. The no's are steps closer.
Ooh, that's so powerful. I also really like the visual aspect of it. It's like checking off a to-do list, which
That's
I
right.
love. That's what an incredible gift
Yes.
to give.
For my little 17-year-old brain, who was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't get that." And she was like, "Are you kidding me? Don't be ridiculous." And so that conversation, I mean, I'm literally, almost 40 years later, and I still remember that conversation so very clearly. And it has impacted everything that I've done in my life. That not everything is right for me. Not everything is, it comes easy. But everything is a lesson, and it is getting me closer to what is right for me. You should also know, Janet, I'm like a God girl. I walk in faith. I have a lot of faith. I moved to New York as, a tall hillbilly at, 17 years old. And somehow I've never done a drug. I have never had an addiction problem. I've always been, just not naive, but there are just some things that I never wanted to get involved in. And so I have walked with, faith that, okay, this is far more than I could have ever hoped for. This is certainly better than, being the postmaster in Chickasaw, Alabama, which is what my grandparents wanted me to do. So I am, in awe, just like everyone else, and walking with, good golly, great, let's do it. So I stay motivated because I'm always amazed and grateful and astonished at what my little abilities have brought, where my abilities have brought me, to be perfectly frank. And I know I know that sounds ridiculously humble, but I do kind of mean that.
No, I think what I love so much about it is there's such a groundedness. It sounds like it's like vibrating from you, that there's a I don't want to say like an anchor, because anchors like pull you down, but like there is like a tethering to your upbringing, but that groundedness gives you the ability to have a sense of wonder that has clearly never died.
No.
You're not jaded at all.
No. Oh God, no. No, not at all. I'm so I can't be more grateful. I just can't be more grateful. So it is wonderful. It is a dream come true. I could have never dreamed this big. I have, having so many dreams come true has inspired me to think about other things. I mean, who knows? So, yeah, I have a great faith, and I walk in the knowledge that, the doors are going to be opened, and no matter what it is, I am going to stay in gratitude. And it's so interesting. So I just had this happen. So with QVC, products are pitched to me because they want me to sell them. They want me to represent their brand. They want me to be their brand ambassador. And there was one product that could not have been more perfect for me. It was literally, I mentioned that I, had this horrible accident and I cut off my right foot. So it was a product that I have actually used in healing myself and walking with more stability and more comfort. And they chose someone else. And I was just like, I couldn't even believe it. And I was like, no problem. I sent them the nicest email saying, I really appreciate the opportunity. No matter what happens, you should know that your product has really impacted my life. And I'm so glad that I at least had the opportunity to express that to you. So thank you so much. And I hope you sell, $1 million or more. Well, so the first person sent it to air, and they were not off the air an hour before they reached out to me and were like, we're ready to move forward with you. So you just never know. You just never know. So no matter every single no, you just want to be grateful for the opportunity. You want to make sure that they heard that you are grateful for the opportunity, because that person that they went with could get sick, could completely poo-poo the bed. And just because you're number 2 does not mean you're not going to get that call.
Oh, I love that. Do you have any, this has obviously been filled with massive amounts of advice, but do you have any more advice, especially for people interested in pursuing this career later on in life or after a first act career?
I do. I will tell you that I am a firm believer in thank you notes. So, I just mentioned how I did that. So every single time I go out for anything, I follow up with a thank you for your time. I am grateful for your effort. I appreciate, you being willing to see me, whatever it was, because casting directors, people in this business are busy they are crazy busy. And, the industry, there's people wear a dozen different hats. And sometimes, sending something, sometimes it's an annoyance, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, oh, wow, she would be great to work with. He would be nice to work with. This is a kind person. They get how hard I'm working. So by following up with something of gratitude, what you're really doing is you're saying, I see you. I see how hard you're working, and I appreciate you looking at me. And by giving whoever's in front of you and making choices the validation that you see them, I really do think that makes a huge difference. It has in my life.
And I think what's really beautiful about that, and I know we hear this from, especially when I get asked a lot, how do you network well? Yeah. And I think what I love so much about that is that there isn't any expectation that you want something from them.
Right.
You're like, I'm just thankful.
Yep.
Can I just be thankful?
Yeah. I'm
Who
thankful.
doesn't love getting a thank you note?
Yes. Yes. And validation from them. I mean, this business it can be really hard and taxing and exhausting. So even if you're just letting them know that you see that, I can assure you it's meaningful. So it is something very small that I do. I mean, when you really think about it, it takes like 10, 15 minutes tops. But when you get the opportunity to be in front of someone, you want to let them know that you appreciate their time.
I love that. You mentioned your family a bit growing up, your grandparents. How would they describe what you do for a living these days? Your loved ones, what would they say? What would your kids say?
Well, you should know that, so I became a General Hospital fan because I went to Catholic school, and on Wednesdays we had half days. So it was like a teacher's thing. It was, I'm not quite sure why. It had something to do with church. But anyway, so Wednesdays were half days, and those were the days that I would actually go to my great-grandmother's house. So I was fortunate to live right across the street from my great-grandmother. And we would go. She had real Coca-Cola, total Benny, and Nutter Butter cookies, like enough said. and we would watch General Hospital and Days of Our Lives. And for my big mama, that's what I called her, for my big mama in heaven, looking down, to think that I am on this show, you cannot even imagine. Now, I'm fortunate that my grandmother, who had a huge hand in raising me, is still alive. She's 98 years old. So I have had many conversations with her about this. And what she always says, you should know, she's 98. She has fire red hair. She wears purple glasses and wears lipstick every day. And she says, well, you always were dramatic, so that's how her approach is. Like, this is not surprising at all. But, so I think they're all like in shock. My other, you should know, one of my bucket list items. So I come from a small town called Chickasaw, Alabama. And every time I'm in Chickasaw to visit my grandmother, I stop by City Hall and I'm like, so what are the requirements to get the keys to the city? Because I'm determined that I'm going to get the keys to Chickasaw. So I think that my girls are excited for me. Of all the work that I've done, my girls are excited. My family's excited. This is up there with like anything else I could have ever done. Like, this is huge for them. So it's an honor.
Oh, that is so wonderful. Do you have any favorite moments from your career? Any funny moments on set? Any just favorite moments that stick out?
I will tell you, I most certainly do. But the thing that I love most about this work is I love being I love being a cog in the puzzle. Like, this kind of project work and giving to the vision, like the whole vision. I mean, I want people to understand that there are 100 to 200 people behind the scenes making all of this come together for what you see. And so I love being a part of that project and having everyone's energy and everyone's focus on creating this vision that's going to bring it to life for people. That, for me, no matter what I'm doing, is the best part of television and the best part of doing this work. So some of my favorite moments were actually the Emmys, like being at the Emmys and being at the daytime Emmys and on the red carpet and just like, just being so starstruck and like, having, Sigourney Weaver like put her arm around me, or, meeting Dolly Parton, or just like those kinds of things are just, it's amazing to me. But in all honesty, every day that I'm on set, I absolutely just love the accumulation of thought and effort and just intention that goes into creating this. So that makes, we all are creative people, but I don't know that people who start or think about this business really recognize all of the genius that's involved. And so being a part of that is honestly the memory that I carry with me all the time. It's not any one thing that I did, but it was like, oh, I love that. Or, oh, I love seeing the genius like in everybody come together.
I've equated it to, well, for one, I don't think there's really anything else in the world, job-wise especially, that brings everyone together so creatively.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a big group project, but nobody is that person just kind of trailing along for the grade. Like, it's just so exciting. I agree with you. It's what's keeping me in this industry, is that excitement to see everyone be masters of their craft.
It's
so
beautiful.
Great.
It's really beautiful. I do love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything you are looking forward to coming up?
Yeah, so I just filmed an amazing episode, like I said, this week, or a couple of episodes, and I actually did a commercial that will be airing also. So I am actually on General Hospital as Pearl, and so Pearl is, again, the fictitious, Home and Heart shopping network host. But really what I'm a part of is this amazing marketing opportunity. And if it's an experiment, I should say, and if it goes well, then I think it's going to revolutionize television, because we're all watching television, Janet, in a different way.
Yes.
It's called a soap opera because soaps used to pay for it. You know what I mean? So, but because we watch television differently, and people are, skipping through ads and not watching ads, there is a huge revenue crunch to try to figure out how you sustain a lot of shows, because we're streaming them, So what I'm a part of is if you've been watching the show for the past 20 years, there is a storyline about deception beauty. And so ABC and Knocking Media, who is developing this, they actually discerned that, okay, Deception Cosmetics is a perfect place to build a brand and see if it is, something that the viewers would be interested in engaging in, outside of the show. And so I actually bring all of those things that have been developed for the fans to life at Shop Home and Heart. So Deception Beauty is real. You can now purchase the Deceptor Red Light Therapy Wand. You can purchase Deceptor Cosmetics. There are all kinds of things that are being developed that I will showcase on the show, but you can also purchase at shophomeandheart.com. And so what I liken this to is, Janet, imagine if we could have bought, Fonzie's leather jacket. Or we could have, been a part of, Monica and Rachel's hair care. So if we had known those things, or if we could have, been told what they were using and purchased them, then that could have possibly, changed, television in itself. And so I believe what's going to happen eventually, if this experiment works, is no matter what you see on a show, what you see behind someone, it is an opportunity to buy that. There will be an opportunity to buy that from the show. So each show will continue, with storylines, but there will be commercial opportunities within the show, so that whether you are, watching it on network or whether you're streaming, commercials can still pay for that.
What I think is so smart about this is I think we as a viewer of any type of content, especially with social media, feel like we have, and I think they call it a parasocial relationship, right? Like we feel more intimately connected to celebrities, to shows, to podcasts, because it feels like you see them in their day-to-day lives on social media. They're not these elusive stars that it was kind of in the 50s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this makes it even more personal, I think, to the viewer. What a cool idea. It's like an almost immersive experience.
It is.
The two worlds are combining.
Well, and I was just, as I mentioned, at this GH event in Memphis, and one of the questions that I would ask people all the time is, tell me what you have learned about watching General Hospital. Tell me, what has, influenced, how this show has influenced your life. And the lessons that people have learned have been amazing. Like developing the Deceptor, which is the red light therapy wand, was an entire storyline that taught people how to have an idea, bring it to life, how to get patents, how to, the packaging that was involved, the marketing that's involved. So believe it or not, the viewers have learned how to take an idea into reality by watching this. And now you can buy it.
So gosh.
I do think you're right. We all have a connection to these things. And I think, even before, Home and Heart or shophomeandheart.com was reality, I think that people were learning. And this is a direct reflection of fan, demand. Because the fans for the past 2 decades have been like, I want Deception lipstick. I want that blush. I want the Deceptor red light therapy wand. And so now it is a real thing. And the way that it's being pitched is whenever anything has been licensed and approved by AVC Legal, it is then brought to Shop Home and Heart or Home and Heart. And Morgan Fairchild and I actually pitch it on the fictitious Home and Heart set, but then the viewers can go to shophomeandheart.com and they can buy all the things that have, basically been a part of the show and are now available for sale.
Oh my gosh. The other thing that's just making me think about how brilliant this is, for one thing. But two, I think about, you're saying about fans of the show, right? And so fans of any fandom, and I can go extreme and think of the biggest fandoms out there are a lot of sci-fi, right? Fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, where it's like, yeah, you bet I want a lightsaber. Like that technology doesn't exist. But here, this is like fandoms being like, I want that lipstick. You're like, here it is. It's a real thing. You can have one. It exists in this world. It's not a fake. It's not a toy. it's I just think it's genius.
It is genius. And the other thing that it does that's so wonderful is, like when it comes to the cosmetics, they have worked hand in hand with the Emmy-winning makeup artist who know everything about the business, who know how, what's needed for, something to last and to look great on every skin tone and to, look great on every skin type. So they're working with really the professionals and the experts behind the scenes to, of course, bring this to life, but to also make it really good for the fans.
That is so smart. Is that available? Is that happening now? That's appearing now?
Yeah. Yes. So you can, anyone listening or watching can go to shophomeandheart.com right now and see all the things that have come alive for Deception Beauty, as well as handbags and jewelry and all kinds of things that have been seen on their favorite characters. And all of the things that are on the shophomeandheart.com are developed around characters as well, because they also play a huge role. Like, for example, if you've been watching the show, the Tracy handbag is exactly what Tracy wanted. Like, this is the handbag that, Jane wanted. So all of the actors have played a role in them as well, which is just wonderful. So there's lots of ideas and ways for you both to enjoy what your favorite character is using, but also, kind of to support the show. I know that sounds crazy, but you have to understand that as media is changing, this is actually a way that you're going to help save this show as well.
That's so, yes. Oh my gosh. Don't
get me wrong. I'm not giving away any secrets. It's not going away, but it is, but things are definitely changing. And so this is becoming another revenue stream, an important revenue stream. We hope that this experiment goes well. If it does go well, I think you're going to see this in every show on television.
I was just about to say, I was like, if this is the beginnings of it, right? I think it's going to keep on trucking. Because you can just imagine all the shows that we know and we love.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other show that's as legacy as General Hospital, I don't think. But you could just see, like, my marketing brain is like, zing, like, it's brilliant.
I love it. All of the sets, the things on the sets, the classes, everything that you use on set, will one day be shoppable.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words of wisdom or advice?
Yes. I think everyone listening should plan to live to be 100 and plan to have 4 or 5 careers. I want to live to be 100. So, but I think you need to set your intention. You know what I mean? I love that people are coming to, careers later in life. I love that is what this podcast is about. I'm so honored to be a part of it. And, I'm 54 years old. This is my very first acting job, and I am just getting started. And I am on a show with women who are 78 and, 80 and who have been around forever. And there is no reason to think that this or anything else is a young person's game. I definitely believe that there is a place for everyone. And there are actors needed at every age, every ethnicity, every type. So, you want to stay young in spirit, but don't feel like your age is a detriment to this business or any business for that matter. I have found that the more wisdom and character and interest that you can bring to something, the better. The key is to stay curious. The minute that you think you know all the answers, that's the minute that you're aging yourself.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you, Andy, for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule to share your story with me and with my listeners. Y'all, I don't know. I think we talked about it before I pushed record, but she had just been on set filming, as you just heard, for like these 15-hour days on General Hospital. She had a late night flight. It was an early morning. And I just so appreciate her taking the time. If you're interested in any of the cool marketing stuff she was talking about on General Hospital, I will put a link in the show notes below for that website to check it out. It's so cool. I just think it's brilliant. I agree with her. I think it's going to revolutionize how we advertise things in this industry that is so dependent on advertising. Like she said, soap operas are called soap operas because soap companies used to fund the ability to make these shows. Our industry relies on that, folks. So check it out, the show notes below. So fascinating. Again, thank you, Andy, for sharing your story with me and with my listeners. And I hope you all will tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye!